Welcome to the TomorrowZone Catalyst Podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Reuben. AI is everywhere right now. I can't go anywhere without having conversations with people about AI. People are calling it the engine of innovation, but I keep coming back to the same question. Are we focusing on the right things? In the rush to automate and optimize, it's just so easy to lose sight of what truly drives progress. And clue, it's not technology, it's people, their wisdom, their stories, the kind of insights you only get from lived experience. So in this episode, we're going to explore how innovation can put human potential at the center while still using AI as a powerful tool of enablement. So let's flip the script together. My guest today is Paula Skaper, a strategist, speaker, and founder of 33 Dolphins. She's known for her bold, people-first approach to technology adoption. And Paula challenges the hype about AI replacing junior roles and brings powerful insights on how to design frameworks that prioritize empathy, transparency, and human growth. I love her contrarian yet deeply human-centered perspective. And I think that this conversation should spark some fresh thinking for any leader who's navigating change right now. So Paula, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here today.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. So we're recording this on a Friday. I also have vacation brain a little bit. So you'll have to bear with me. My much awaited time away is next week. So we're just on the edge of that. You're actually my last meeting today. So yay, you. You have to deal with me.
Summer brain. I call it summer brain.
Summer brain. Yeah. Well, yeah, being from Canada, you understand the dilemma for us Minnesotans. Summer is so short and precious.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So before we dive in, I am just burning with curiosity. Why 33 Dolphins? What's behind that name?
Funny story. So I worked with a branding agency when I rebranded the company in 2021. And, part of that process is really understanding how you work. And so this was one of the names they suggested, and I just loved it. Dolphins are known for, you hear all these stories, right? The dolphin that sees the person struggling in the water and they circle them and they hold them up when they struggle and they swim alongside them and get them to shore. And that's kind of the way I work with my clients. Is it's not about pushing or pulling or dragging or, force. It's really just about getting in the water and swimming alongside and being that source of support and encouragement and maybe a little bit of guidance, a little bit of expertise, right? But that sort of work. The other thing about the dolphin is that they're community-based. And so they work in groups, in communities. They use echolocation for, wayfinding. So there are all these little metaphors around the dolphin, which I absolutely loved. And then the number 33 is actually the strongest master number in numerology. And it's the combination of 11 plus 22 equals 33. And so those are the numbers of the visionary, the architect, and the builder, which again ties back to my approach when I'm working with my clients is we have to have the vision, we have to architect the solution, and then we have to build it. And I find most, at least in my experience, when I was running my agency for 20 years, most coaches come in and they help you with the vision and then they're gone, and then you have other people that will come in and they help you build the solution. But nobody really worries about the architecture, which is kind of ties to what we're going to talk about today, because that's the piece where everything breaks apart.
Thank you for that. That was really enlightening. And now I understand more why 33 is showing up a lot in this space. One of the reasons why I was excited to talk to you today is because you're a bit of an AI hype contrarian, and we're surrounded by hype right now with AI. Yeah. I think that's why it's just so top of mind in every conversation these days. Yeah. You've done some writing about AI adoption and that it's ultimately a human change challenge, not a technology project.
Absolutely.
So with that in mind, I wonder if you could share a bit about how you're thinking about how can leaders practically build that mindset into their innovation efforts?
Well, it's there are a lot of layers. There are a lot of layers to that. I think, it really comes with how are you approaching this problem? Are you approaching this problem with, I have this amazing tool, and I want to be super clear, AI rocks. I mean, it is an amazing, incredible, powerful piece of technology if we wield it properly, right? Much like nuclear power, wielded properly, it is incredibly powerful. Wielded carelessly, it could destroy us. And I think too often when we're selling technology, and I've seen this for my entire career, the way that tech gets sold to business leaders is, we can help you get rid of some of those pesky human beings, right? Those annoying people, they take vacation, they take sick day, they expect salaries, they want to go home at 5:00, all those horrible things, right? We can help you get rid of them, and you can make all sorts of money and way more margin because of our technology. And a trained monkey can operate our tech. None of which is true. Like literally, I have never seen a single technological innovation that made that promise and then fulfilled on the promise. And so I'm a bit of a tech skeptic in the sense that when I see new tech come through, my first reaction is, oh my God, that is so cool. And I geek out for a little while. And then I go, okay, what are the limitations? And so my thing is, I like to go in, I like to test the limitations, get clear on what it does, what it doesn't do, and then figure out, how does this solve problems for a business? How can we apply it? I think for leaders, if they approach AI from how can we get rid of people? How can we eliminate junior roles? That is short-term thinking. I'm thinking about, how am I going to optimize my profit this quarter? Right?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about, how am I going to sustain this business next year? Right? And so we're in a labor market crisis right now. I mean, at least here in Canada, I don't know, if it's as bad in the US, but we're literally seeing that we are not having the bodies in place to replace the bodies that are about to leave the workforce. We literally don't have the workers. AI can help us solve that problem. But I think it's important not to skip over the fact that we created that problem, because we do, in fact, have the bodies. There are more human beings on the planet than at any time in history. There are more workers on the planet than at any time in history. Most countries have both men and women actively in the workforce. So how do we get to a place where we have more people to feed and fewer people to fill the jobs that we need? And we get to that place by not bringing along the people that are coming behind us to fill our roles when we're ready to leave. And so we've had this whole generation, really, of people in senior leadership roles that are staying longer than people have ever stayed before. And in doing so, they have dropped the ball. I'm going to say they dropped the ball. They didn't bring along the group coming behind them. And so now we have a group of people poised to enter leadership who don't have the skills to do so, who don't have the knowledge to do so, who've never been exposed to it. My first management role, I got it because my boss believed in me, and believed in me in a way that I don't see a lot of belief happening today. She felt I could do her job when she retired, and she was planning her retirement. And so she made sure to give me opportunities to be able to build those skills that I would need to take her seat when she stepped away. Whether I got the job or not was immaterial. She made sure I had the skill. And so, I was doing things somebody in my role shouldn't do. And she let her partners know, and she mentored me when she retired. And I was in my early 20s. I was young. And when she retired, she said to our publisher, Paula can run this team. Paula can do my job. I've trained her. She's ready. She's smart. Give her the opportunity. And she brought me in. She said, they're going to offer you the job. Here's what you're going to ask for in salary. Here's what you're going to ask for in a raise next year. I mean, she laid it out for me.
Wow.
Unbelievable mentorship. And I'm so grateful to her because what she taught me was not just how to do the job. She taught me how to be a leader, and she taught me how to bring people along. Mm-hmm. And I think if we had approached the world that way, more ubiquitously, we would have the people we need sitting in the wings, waiting for their opportunity to take the stage. And we don't. And that's our fault. And we're kind of pretending that that's, that didn't happen. So that, I think, is the first piece, is really, do you have that mindset? And have you thought through the consequences of the decisions that you're making?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So let's play it out. I have a company. Right now I have 50 junior people doing research and administrative work for me. I have another 20 senior people, and then I have, 5 or 6 that are right at the top. My next crop of senior people are coming from those 50 juniors that I'm developing. They're learning our ways of working. They're learning our corporate intellectual property. They're learning how we think, not how a computer thinks, how we think, how we approach problems. They're learning the magic sauce that makes our business different from any other business, right? And that magic sauce never happens in your tech stack. That magic sauce happens in the people you put together and how they deploy your tech stack, how they deploy your IP, right? So let's say we get rid of those 50 juniors and we replace them with a bunch of AI agents. Fantastic. Now, 5 years from now, our 6 senior partners, let's call them senior partners, are in their mid-60s. They've made their wealth. They want to go see Italy. Their wives want to travel. Their husbands want to go surfing. It's like we've got, 20 years of maybe less of physical health that we can do these things. We're doing them. They retire. 6 of your middle tier people move up. Who are you bringing into the middle tier? Are you going to bring an AI agent in to do client management, to build relationships with people, to remember their birthdays, to take them out for lunch, to call them when their dog dies and say, hey, I heard it really sucks, man, I've lost it? No. Because how would you feel if one of your most important vendors, partners in your business, you suffered a great loss in your family, and the AI assistant rang the phone? Hey, Deb, this is the AI assistant for Josh. I just wanted to let you know I'm really, really sorry. And, hurts me to know I've lost a pet. No, like, you're hanging up. You don't like Josh anymore. You've just damaged that relationship.
I have actually received an automated condolence letter by a well-meaning organization.
Oh, no.
That at this point will remain nameless, but it definitely damaged the relationship.
Yeah, it does. It does. Like, we're human beings. We're craving human connection.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah. Well, several things came out of that. But as you were talking about, what are we going to do? Replace our junior people with AI? It reminded me of a story that I've been following. Klarna is a fintech company, buy now, pay later. And so the big headline last spring was that Klarna was going to go all in on AI and replace their call center agents with AI agents. Yeah. The big headline right now is that Klarna is scrambling to rehire humans because the customer experience tanked, basically. And I'm super paraphrasing it, but you can look up this story and it's pretty interesting because I think about it all the time as I'm listening to leaders talk, because it is a very prevalent mindset. AI is about replacing humans. Well, I think AI is a really great tool for enhancing and augmenting. But the big thing that you're talking about that junior people are learning from senior people is how to think. And although we tend to talk about AI, we anthropomorphize and we talk about AI as thinking, it's actually just calculating and doing math and prediction and whatnot under the surface. And it's mimicking mediocre thinking based on the content that it's trained on. And so the thing that AI is not good at is the nuance and the things that come from lived experience.
And it can't tell fact from fiction. It can't discern good from bad, moral from immoral. There was a great study done not that long ago. I think it was by Anthropic, and they tested all of the, I think they jailbroke them, but they tested all of the models, the popular models that are out there, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all of them. And they gave them a scenario. Actually, they gave them two scenarios. And what they did is they told them that an executive was about, first, they gave them the task of protecting themselves from being shut down. Second, they gave the models a task or a storyline where an executive had discovered that they were not good for human development in the company and was planning to pull the plug on their server at 4 p.m. In some of the tests, they locked the fictional executive in a server room. So he became trapped in the server room, and the temperature was rising in the server room because, air conditioning, and oxygen was being depleted because it had been sealed off. And the AI chose to let the executive die. Even though it had been programmed to protect human life, the AIs chose to allow the executive to die. In another scenario, they gave the AI access to the emails of the entire company, this fictional company. And there were fictional emails. Now, this is funny given the whole TikTok thing that just happened, but the executive was having an affair with a coworker. And the AI sent emails to the executive stating that if it attempted to disengage the coworker or the server, it was going to contact his wife with evidence of his affair. This AI, unprompted, like this is the AI going, what's the logical conclusion to this step? And that's where the morality is not there.
Well, but wasn't it given the directive to protect yourself from being shut down?
Yeah, that was the directive.
And it's going to do whatever whatever it can to achieve the objective. And I think that you bring up a really good point. Morality, discernment, and judgment are important.
Empathy, understanding. Like we are at risk of underestimating what makes humans human in exchange for, a very teeny tiny corner of how our brains and our bodies actually work and how we connect with each other. And so back to the Klarna piece, there's that component of it, which we can feel it as human beings, but the other component with Klarna was, did they do the math? Like, what did it cost to lay off 200 fully trained human workers? Those people all got their severance. Unless they were in a country where they could get away with not giving them any severance, and that's a whole other conversation about human first. But, what did it cost for the severance? What did it cost for, the outplacement services? Because their reason to get rid of those people was we're replacing them with computers. So it's not like, we're in trouble and we're shrinking. We're replacing them. So there were costs. And then what did they invest in the AI? Millions of dollars in this AI. What did it cost them in lost sales when the AI failed? And now what's it costing them to rehire those people and retrain, because they're not going to get all those people back. Those people didn't sit around at home for a year crying because they lost their call center job. They found another one.
Well, you were talking about short-term versus long-term thinking. It just seems like, in a sense, it was longer-term thinking because they're thinking about the exponential growth of AI and this is the future possibility. So they're thinking long-term there. But one of the things we talk about a lot is how we need to be watching trends and along multiple different dimensions, societal as well as technical, but environment, economics, politics, there's just so many things that you need to consider, and especially the human factors, not only like, what are we doing to this specific process that we might be enhancing with AI, but what's the impact of the processes surrounding it and what's the impact to the humans? And then factor all of that into, okay, now let's look at cost benefit.
So if everyone working in your company is AI and you're making all this profit, but you have no employees, where are the people who buy your stuff going to get the money to buy your stuff? And if you say to me, oh, well, we're B2B, so it's another company. right? But that company is B2C. And if that company is doing all their stuff with a robot, where are the people who buy their stuff going to buy their stuff? Because if those consumers aren't buying things, then those businesses don't need services because they're going under. Therefore, your clients are going under. Therefore, they have no money to buy your stuff. Like, we are interconnected. And we don't think about that, right? It's that kind of narrow versus broad lens.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the reasons why we were always zooming out, zooming in, looking at all different angles whenever we're looking at a problem. Yeah. So we've been talking about some of the more negative potentials with AI, but
I actually don't believe it's possible. I do not believe it's possible
that what is
for AI to replace people. Like, I literally do not accept that is possible. We are so incredibly far. AI has been around for 70 years. Like, it has been around longer than most of the people on this planet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's new is it's actually accessible.
Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to explore a little bit. What are some of the real world stories where a more human-centered approach to AI adoption made the difference in a successful implementation of AI?
One of the things we do is we have this all in, right? So the stories where human-centered approaches, they tend to be less sexy, right? We can't have a big splashy headline. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that Susie down in marketing is able to generate more social media content with the help of her AI integrations. And as a result of that, we've been able to increase engagement. Nobody wants to talk about that. It's not exciting. Mm-hmm. But that's what a human-centered approach looks like, right? How do we take Susie's job and configure Susie's job so that we empower Susie to spend more of her time doing high value work and less of her time doing administrative work. Mm-hmm. And also, when we have Susie do the when we have Susie's AI do the administrative work, how do we protect the integrity of that work from errors? And so that's really where a human-centered approach shows up. It's, what are the bottlenecks in my business? How can I get rid of the bottlenecks? Because get rid of those bottlenecks, what you do is you free up capacity in your people to do work that really matters, right? And then you don't need as many bodies coming behind that are trained. So one, it can solve our short term. With my clients, and I work mostly, Deb, with small, medium enterprise companies, right? So these are companies that maybe have one body in marketing, one or two bodies in marketing. They've maybe got a salesperson, maybe two, right? They've got a founder who's leading everything and trying to hold it all together and just wants to go to bed at night before 3 a.m. And they're growing, right? How do we...
Totally identifying with that feeling right now. we're right? Growing so fast. It's super fun.
Yeah, it's a ride. It's totally a ride. So how do we empower teams to be able to, take more of that on? How do we free up that leader's time? And those are places where AI adoption can have huge, huge benefit.
Absolutely.
Right? How do we free up capital in the company to be able to invest in some of that key talent, right? And so just to give you a marketing specific example, I've worked with a number of clients and we've developed a process where, without fancy, agentic AI automations and like, hi, I'm going to customize this but how can I take what's out there and affordable for my company and use that to empower my people? And so, one example is we have this entire process we implement for clients where we're able to take the AI and have it mimic the writing voice of the owner of the company, who's typically the subject matter expert that everything should fall under, right? In these smaller businesses, and within the corporate voice, and what are the guardrails? And then we have a process of, how do we extract that intellectual property from the owner, right? In a way that doesn't drag on their time. How do we extract it from the other subject matter experts, right? So we get that. And we do that 2 hours a month, literally 2 hours a month with a couple of people. And you've got everything you need for 30 days worth of content. And so in this kind of 2 hour sort of process, then we take that content and we give it to the AI and create all the content that is needed for that company in that process. And then it comes back and it's edited. So it's human edited, it's human reviewed, it's peer reviewed. It's never perfect. What AI does is never perfect. There are M dashes where there shouldn't be M dashes and commas where there shouldn't be commas.
Oh my gosh.
Cliches,
yes.
like, I mean, it's hard to weed that stuff out.
Oh, it's
but
a
you
massive
get something
mediocrity
pretty close.
machine.
Right. Right. So there's that. Even if you're a great writer, though, even if you're a great writer, you can take something you've written for a company and say to the AI, please evaluate this. Tell me how closely I have achieved the voice of this company, and what are some things that I might do to improve it? And it'll come back and say, hey, this is like 90% of the way there. But see this sentence, they're probably not going to like it because it kind of sounds more this voice, or tweak that. And you can have it give you recommendations that you then as a human being go in and take the recommendations and implement them how you want to. So, I mean, there are different ways. It depends on the skill set of the person using it, right? But it helps these businesses who are highly technical. You can't just go hire a copywriter from copywriting school to come in and write great copy about Earth observation or great copy about mechanical engineering, for large submarines. This is just not knowledge that's in the general populace. And so you do that. Now that company doesn't have to pay for, my agency colleagues are going to hate me for this, they don't have to pay through the nose for agency services for things that they really don't want to pay through the nose for agency services for, because the actual unit value of that delivery doesn't justify it. They can now do it internally. They can do it with their existing staff. And so they're delivering better content faster with their existing staff. Bonus, in that process, the individuals that are creating that content, learning about the company, absorbing subject matter expertise, understanding how their leader thinks. Spill over from that, I go to do a campaign plan. What am I going to do for this campaign? Now that campaign plan is more aligned with the personality of the individual that I'm working with. So it's finding ways that knowledge gets shown through without saying, I'm not going to, no AI. This one drives me as bad. Like, no AI, that's crazy. You're just tanking your business when you do that.
Yeah.
In most cases. I mean, I'm going to say there's always an exception to the rule.
I was just listening to this example, and I think that, you've challenged the myth that AI eliminates junior roles, but I think even in your example, you've shown how organizations can leverage AI to enhance the humans on their team, but still preserve opportunities for that early career growth. I love the notion of learning the voice and the philosophy and the tone and the DNA of a company by collaborating with AI on content. That's actually something that we're doing at TomorrowZone. And so,
cool.
The team is really...
you should compare notes on that sometime.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'd love to compare notes with you sometime on eliminating the M dash and the emoji fest that happens. I constantly am telling it, don't use those stupid contrasting statements. It's not this M dash, it's this. It's such a tell that those, created by AI.
You're doing this. You're doing that.
Yeah. So I'll be like in an iterative conversation in ChatGPT. We use the paid team edition at TomorrowZone. And so it's trained on a lot of how we think, what we do, previous writing, presenting, and whatnot. So we've got it probably about, I think 85 to 90% knows the voice of TomorrowZone, but then also me. And I've continually tried to train it to remember, like, I hate emojis, no emojis in my writing. That annoys me to no end. And so it'll do really well for a while, and then it'll just start sprinkling. And so I'm lately, the way I've been working it is constantly stopping it why are you using M dashes when I told you not to? Why are you using emojis when I told you not to? And that like gets it back on track. But it's just an example. Like you can't just expect that it's going to spit out like the accurate results that you want. You have to collaborate, and that's what you're describing in your story, is that human AI collaboration that just kind of up levels your thinking. I'm critically thinking the whole time I'm collaborating with this thing. You never outsource your brain power to an AI. It's just
never.
So,
Interestingly, though, I mean, one of the things as we talk a lot about human in the loop. Mm-hmm. Human in the loop. That's the problem. Like that language, human in the loop. AI is the God looping in the human to check its work. We need to flip that script and start talking about AI in the loop, right? It's not human in the loop. It's AI in the loop. What are the things the AI takes off the plate of the human to free the human up to do more impactful work?
Yeah.
Right? If we just, that tiny little flip changes how you approach the implementation completely.
I like that. Well, that's a really interesting angle, because I have embraced the human in the loop.
Me too, when it first
because
started.
We're constantly looking at always inviting AI to the table as we're learning what it can and can't do. But we're always starting with our thinking. And so I'm very big on, we need to think through things. As a consultant, I refuse to be an order taker ever, or treated as a vendor. That's not us. We're thought partners with our clients. And that's also how I view AI, as it's a thought partner, but I'm still in the lead.
It's an incredible thought partner. I mean, if you have done the work to build expertise in your subject matter, AI takes what you do to a completely new level, because AI isn't really worried about hurting your feelings. I mean, there are places where that lack of empathy is useful. You can give it something and say, what am I missing here?
Yeah.
Go search the body of knowledge in the universe and tell me what I'm missing. Prove me wrong, and it'll go prove you wrong, and it'll force you, to recalibrate your own thinking, or choose to ignore it because no, I actually disagree with that. I think that conclusion is wrong. So I'm trenching in here. No.
That's an important thing too, is you can leverage AI to bring in a new perspective to challenge your thinking. And one of the custom GPTs that I've been experimenting with is, I want it to do that. I want it to very carefully evaluate how I'm thinking about doing this, and based on what you know about my goals and how we want to grow and our values, evaluate this and tell me where I'm missing it. But I have to prompt it in a way that invites that, because lately I've noticed a pattern where it is just, I saw a meme recently. Somebody somewhere right now is being told by AI just how brilliant their ideas are. And I don't want to be told constantly that my ideas are awesome. I know they're not all awesome, and so I want them to be weighed critically. But, I think AI can be a powerful tool to help you with that, because it can simulate different perspectives and personas that you can then invite to the table. So I was testing it with crazy stuff like, hey, I'm thinking about getting TomorrowZone into a new line of business, chicken farming. Let's evaluate, because I wanted it to tell me, hey, that's really stupid and you should get back to your focus. But
it's very positive. It probably, gave you all sorts of reasons why chicken farming would solve your issues.
Yeah, if you don't prompt it right, that's what you're going to get. And so you still have to be in the lead when it comes to the critical thinking. So one of the things I wanted to talk with you about is the risks that we may face if we shortcut experience building in the rush to automate with AI.
I mean, I think the big one is really that we are creating potentially a generation that is helpless.
Say more.
It's we're not talking about the next 10 years. or the next 15 years, right? There's a reasonably good chance that the people profiting off AI today won't be on the planet when their nuclear bomb detonates, right? They will no longer be on the planet, but their grandchildren will be. And it's one of the things about Western culture, right, that we're very focused on today, and individualization and achievement, which are all amazing things that have driven Western culture so far forward. But in the process, we're losing connection to community, we're losing connection to family, we're losing connection to the future. And I've met so many people who've said to me, literally said the words, "Oh, that may happen, but I won't be here then." I was like, you have kids. Your kids are 11 and 12, or you have grandchildren that are 2 and 3, and they'll be here. Have you thought about what that means? And they haven't, and we've lost the ability to do that. So I think that's the big risk, is having this generation of people, and we're not talking about industrialization, right? I mean, you go back a couple hundred years, and women weren't in the workforce. We were toiling in the garden, growing food for our families. We were, had babies strapped to our hips and our backs and toddlers at our knees while we slaughtered cows and chickens. And there was a lot of manual labor involved in just putting food on the table every day. We scrubbed our laundry in the river and carried, it was a very different world. I don't know a single woman today who's like, I want to go back to that time in history. Like, that sounds like fun. Well, maybe one, actually, maybe one. But it's just not the way the world works. But that doesn't mean that people don't cook food for their families. It doesn't mean that people don't have things to do to get we have machines that help us, right? But it doesn't mean that we're not the ones doing the work. It means that we can do the work more efficiently, which frees up our time to do other things. And AI is going to be the same. It's going to change the nature of junior work, but I don't see it ever eliminating junior work, ever. It'll just change it, right? I started my career on a typewriter that was electric, right? Which basically meant that I didn't have to, do the carriage return. You hit a button and the thing did it for you. It was amazing. If you made a mistake, you backspaced the number of characters and you corrected it, and you correct your ribbon, and then you type the right letter, and then you forward spaced. That's when I started my career. Then we had digital typewriters where I could go in and correct it and then reprint it. That was amazing. The word processor, like these things. But in that office,
isn't that funny? The word processor was a machine.
It was a machine. It was a machine, and you had this tiny little strip, right? In that same office, there was this thing called a letraset machine.
What the heck is that?
Exactly. That's what I said. I'm like, what the heck is this? It looked like something from the 30s. It was how this company put out its newsletter for its staff. And so part of my job, I was a receptionist at this company, very, very young. I had to type out the newsletter on a typewriter, make it look good. And then it would create, I didn't type it on paper. I typed it on this special film. Then I had to wrap the film around this letraset thing, right? Turn it on, get the ink flowing, and then literally hand crank it.
Oh my gosh.
As it would roll the sheets through. It literally was from like the early days of printing. They'd had it since the dawn of time, and that's how they produced their newsletter. Computers were a thing at this point in time. Like the desktop computer was a thing at this point. But that was, that was the pace of change at that point in time, right? People were bringing it in. AI is going to be the same kind of change, right?
Have that in the same office.
It was insane. It was insane. But AI is going to change, right? It's going to change the way work gets done. And, our desktop computers at some point are probably going to become this archaic thing of the past, right? Kind of like the Mac 2VI today. If you see one, you're like, oh, how quaint. That computer took up an entire desktop. But it doesn't mean that the people go away. That's just a fallacy. And when we approach, I think the other piece, like we were talking about the downstream risk, there's an even more imminent risk, right? There is a very imminent very scary risk in the way that we're approaching AI adoption. I met a woman at a barbecue 2 weeks ago, actually, and she's 5 years from retirement. She's looking forward to her retirement. She's been in her job most of her career. She's the top performing person in her role in her company, and she was asked to be on the team to train the AI in a union environment. Mm-hmm. And she looked at them, and they are so lucky this woman was honest with them. She said, I am not going to train a computer to do my job. She said, I have no interest in helping you get rid of me earlier than my retirement date. Why would I do that? What is in it for me? She said, you're lucky I don't say yes and embed errors into the training. How many people are training AI and either they're not the best people in the company because the best people don't want to do it because they're afraid of what it means for them because they've been told it's coming for their job. AI is coming for your job. AI is coming for your job. So what do we get? We get the mediocre knowledge. We get the people who are juniors who don't actually have the knowledge, training based on a document that they may or may not have read well. That's who's training AI. So would you go to a hospital that was an AI hospital and have your scans, your MRI scan for brain cancer, interpreted by an AI who had been trained by a second-year medical student? Maybe not.
That's a little creepy.
But we don't stop to think it. Right. We're not questioning. We're not testing. We're not demanding transparency in how these things are trained. And we're trusting that people are going to do the right thing and help us eliminate their jobs with no pushback. And if you look at history, that is just not human nature to do that. So I think we got to be a little bit careful about what we're doing.
Well, and I think that, just a big takeaway from the conversation is when you're considering bringing in AI, you have to look holistically and not narrow. And it's not about how do I slam in this new tool to eliminate large chunks of my workforce or to replace humans. I mean, I think, it's funny how many times the word human actually comes up in our day-to-day conversations. I've been noticing that just over the past 5 years. And I think, part of it may be because as people, we want authenticity, not artificial.
Just think about during the pandemic, right? We were all locked up in our houses, not allowed to go out, not allowed to have family dinners, not allowed. Zoom took off. And at that time, I was part of a women's networking group. And there were some female business owners, I'm talking in their 70s, like some of these ladies have passed away now, in their 70s, who were mentoring young women starting businesses.
Oh, and cool.
It was really cool. When the pandemic happened, the woman who led the company, she called me and she was like, I've lost my business. She said, I can't do the events. I can't do the retreats. I can't do any of it. I said, why? She said, we can't get together. I said, yes, we can. We can solve this for you. And so I took her through Zoom and I showed her what Zoom was. And we had 8 weeks from this happened till this retreat was supposed to happen with all these young female business owners. I took a dozen women, 2/3 of whom were 60 and older, and taught them how to facilitate a session on Zoom in 8 weeks. Literally how to install Zoom. We had sessions how to install it, like literally step by step by step. 8 weeks. It was unbelievable. And I mean, if you look at it now, it's kind of like the early days of the internet, right? I mean, they had easels in their living rooms behind them on their cameras, drawing things and pictures. I mean, it was crazy, but we figured it out and we made it work, which that's nice. That's the business story. The human story behind that is I started getting phone calls from these ladies saying, I got to go to my kid's birthday party for my grandson. I got to see my grandson. My family's getting together because now I've got them doing it and we're having Friday night socials. We're getting together on Sunday. So we took the technology and we found a way to come together as community. I made amazing friends through the internet, like sitting like this on a computer. My son got married this year. He met his wife. And she's in California. He's in Vancouver, Canada. Right? They met through the internet. They built this bond they were like kids. They were best friends. They finally decided we should meet in person. They met in person. Turns out they were more than friends. Now they're married, right? But like so these things weren't possible. They would never have connected. And amazing addition to our. So we will find ways as people to connect. And I think as businesses, if we keep that at the front and center, and then it's actually, Deb, it's the thing I love about what I know about how you work at TomorrowZone. Because you bring the teams together and you say to the teams, how can we make your life better? How can we make your output better? What does the future look like where you're more fulfilled? And how can we use technology to do that? And coming from that place, instead of having like this woman who's like, I'm 5 years from retirement. I mean, she didn't have that innate. I have an opportunity to. They could have taken this lady, this woman, and they could have put her at the core of a team that figured out how to do this and get them excited about it. And yes, maybe a byproduct of that is that we can get the work done that we need to get done with 12 people instead of 15. Maybe that's a byproduct. I actually think that the biggest risk of AI is to the middle layer. It's to that middle layer, right? That mid-level consultant. Because I can take a junior marketer and I can get them doing work at a mid-level, like output quality within about a year and a half. Now, I mean, it's still a year and a half of building the skills, but it's not about how to use the tool. It's not about the tech. It's about the critical thinking skills. It's about the things to consider, right? It's all of that stuff that AI can't do. But I can get that done in about 18 months as opposed to 4, 5, 6 years, right? So it's accelerating development in the junior person. That's going to change the dynamic, but that junior person still needs to be managed. It's not like at 18 months, I can say to the business, congratulations, you've now got a CMO or you've now got a VP sales. That's not happening. You've now got somebody who's delivering really good output consistently, and you've got to manage them. So you've got to take over where I'm leading off, and here's what you need to be doing. So part of it is it's working with the owner to learn how to manage this person, is working with the individuals to build the skills to create the level of work that doesn't require micromanagement. That's what's changing. It's not junior roles. It's the nature of the junior role, the level we can expect from it if we do it right. If we do it wrong and we're seeing, then people get lazy. We're human. Human laziness is what makes progress. We talk about humans are lazy. That's a horrible thing. No, laziness generates progress, right? Laziness is what makes us want an electric washing machine.
Yes, I actually was just thinking about laundry as you were saying that.
If you could give me an AI robot that would like take the clothes out of the dryer and fold it, I would be all over that stuff. Put that in my house, please. I just
saw a prototype that does that, because that's actually one of the robotic problems I've been following for years, because it's a very complex. It's a complex operation. Like knowing the difference between a t-shirt and jeans or whatever's in there, and there's a lot that goes into it, and it's pretty intricate, some of the operations that are involved just in doing laundry end to end. But yeah, that's like my dream scenario for AI and robotics is please take over that.
There are some jobs humans don't want to do and maybe shouldn't have to. I mean,
that's been my whole focus. And, I've been leveraging AI in my business since 2016. And I've always looked at it in terms of, okay, what are the things that I do that I would rather not do? And is there an AI for that? Is there an AI solution for that? And I, at first it was hard to find them. now, it's a day-to-day thing.
Well, think about an event venue, like a convention center. All right. I worked with a consulting company that worked in waste management. Man, was that an eye-opener. Like, we go to a conference, we eat our stuff, we throw it in the bin. We don't think about it anymore. That bin gets put on a conveyor belt, sent down to the basement, where human beings in rubber protective garb pull that apart and have to separate the half-eaten food from the wrapper, the plastic from the paper, hazardous garbage from what can be recycled. So there are these conveyor belts that have to, what a waste of human potential. Like, that's a waste of human potential. That's human capacity not being deployed effectively for our planet, right? Imagine doing that every day just to feed your family. Like, it pays well enough, but these are places where we can deploy technology to increase the capacity of human beings, to free people up, to do other work that is. And imagine how hard it must be to find people who do that work and do it well and conscientiously and consistently. And, we all have days we don't want to go to work. Imagine if that's the work you have to go to.
Yeah. We can definitely make the world a better place for humans if we leverage technology in better ways. So I want to wrap this up. Paula, if they're in just a concise bit of advice, but if you could give one piece of advice to leaders who want to balance human growth and AI capabilities, what would it be?
Involve your team. It's simple. Involve your team.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really exciting exploration of, separating AI hype from what we really need to do to build the bench for the future and take a long view of all of it. So, Paula, I just want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. And Deb, I want to say, like, the work that you do with your clients and the way that you approach it, companies that do that are the ones that are going to win in the long game.
Absolutely. I believe that. Thank you for that. Okay. And to our listeners, just want to encourage you, before your next innovation project, ask, how will you center people and their experience and wisdom and growth before the technology? You can start that conversation today. If you're unsure how to do that, you can reach out to us at tomorrowzone.io. I want to thank you for tuning in. And until next time, stay curious and choose to make awesome happen.